The rain came in sideways, sharp as nails and humming with static. Jack Harding stood in the open barn doorway, one hand shielding his eyes, the other gripping a flashlight that flickered in protest against the storm's fury. Somewhere behind him, the old farmhouse creaked like a tired ship, and above it all, the thunder snarled like something alive. He didn't like this storm. Not just because it was loud or wild, those came and went on the plains, but because it felt wrong. The air had a copper tang that buzzed on the tongue, and the lightning wasn't the familiar forked white but a surreal green, branching in unnatural fractals across the sky. His late wife, a Navy weather specialist, used to call this freak surge energy. Whatever that meant, it usually came with trouble. "Dad!" a small voice called from inside the barn. "The roof's leaking again." Jack turned. Ellie stood at the ladder to the loft, a roll of duct tape in one hand and a plush penguin in the other. She wore a helmet made of tin foil and cereal boxes, and her rain boots didn't match, one pink, one yellow. She looked ready to conquer Jupiter. "I'll get it," Jack said. "You stay inside. No playing astronaut tonight." She puffed her cheeks. "But storms mean sky holes. What if one opens and the stars fall through?" He almost smiled. "Almost. Then we'll catch them in a jar. Go on. Stay warm." As she disappeared into the hayloft, Jack stepped out into the rain. The flashlight gave out completely. He swore under his breath and trudged toward the fields, where a power line pole had sparked earlier. If it was down, they'd lose the refrigerator, the backup pump, and probably half the tools. And with winter coming, there wasn't much room for bad luck left. He was halfway through the knee-high grass when the sky cracked open, not with sound, but light. A burst of radiant green exploded just over the tree line, not like lightning but like a pulse. Everything flickered. The storm paused, just for a second, like it was holding its breath. Then came the sound. Not thunder. A roar. Mechanical, strained. Something screaming through atmosphere and tearing branches along the way. Jack ducked instinctively. A searing streak of metal tore through the clouds, vanishing over the hill behind the west ridge, and a second later came the crash. Trees snapped. Earth groaned. The rain redoubled like the sky wanted to bury the whole thing underwater. "Hell no!" Jack muttered and started running. By the time he reached the edge of the ridge, the storm was already dragging itself toward the east, sulking away like a defeated predator. He smelled smoke, sharp and acrid. Down in the gulch, through the thinning curtain of rain, lay a crater. The ground was torn open like a wound, still smoking. In its center was wreckage, dark, jagged, not like any aircraft he'd ever seen. Pieces glowed faintly, almost alive, and the structure hummed with energy that made his bones ache. He almost turned back. Then something moved. At first, he thought it was a tangle of black metal shifting. But then it staggered upright, one leg dragging, cloak torn, body braced against a boulder. The figure was tall, graceful, almost inhumanly so, with pale gray skin that shimmered in the weak light. A kind of segmented armor clung to her body, iridescent and cracked. Blood, dark violet, streamed from a gash across her temple. She looked up. Her eyes locked on his. Jack froze. The woman, or whatever she was, tried to speak. What came out wasn't English. It was musical, clipped, something that didn't belong to any earthbound language. She took one step toward him, then collapsed. Jack's first instinct was to back away. His second was to run. But his third, louder than the rest, was shaped like Ellie's voice. A stubborn little voice that always asked, "Wouldn't you want someone to help you if you fell out of the sky?" He moved. Getting to her wasn't easy. The heat from the wreckage was still intense. He had to pull off his flannel shirt and wrap it around his hands just to move part of the debris off her leg. Up close, she looked barely conscious, eyes fluttering, breath shallow. Her left arm was broken at the elbow, and something in her side looked melted. He grunted, getting his arms under her. She was heavier than she looked. Not impossible, but dense, like she was made of something more than bone and blood. Her skin was warm. Not fever warm, electrically warm, like sunlit stone. As he lifted her, her head lolled against his shoulder. She whispered something again. Still not English. But just before she passed out completely, her lips moved again, and this time, he understood the words. Protect the air. The breath hitched in his throat. What air? Was she a fugitive? A soldier? Some alien queen? Too many questions. Too much danger. And not enough time. By the time he reached the barn again, the rain had faded to a mist, and Ellie was standing at the door, her arms crossed, the tinfoil helmet tilted like a general's cap. You found a space person, she said solemnly. Jack blinked at her. You weren't supposed to see that. You said no astronauts. That's not an astronaut. She's royalty. Like from the stories. He sighed. Ellie. I won't tell. Promise. But she needs a blanket. And tea. And maybe ice cream if she wakes up. He carried the alien woman into the barn and laid her gently in the loft's soft hay, next to Ellie's old mattress. He tucked a quilt over her broken form as the barn lights flickered once, then steadied. Ellie handed him a bottle of water and an ice pack. Jack sat back, breathing hard. The woman hadn't stirred. Her body glowed faintly under the blanket, soft pulses that matched some rhythm he didn't recognize. Outside, the storm passed, but its echo lingered in the air. Something had come to Earth. Someone. And she was lying broken in his barn. Jack looked at her again, then at Ellie, who had already started drawing stars on a scrap of cardboard. Who are you? He whispered. The woman didn't answer. But the stars outside felt closer than they ever had. The woman didn't wake for 2 days. Jack checked on her every few hours, half expecting to find her gone or changed. But she remained where he'd laid her, wrapped in quilts, breathing slow and even, the strange glow under her skin dimming but never fading entirely. Whatever was in her, biotech, implants, alien metabolism, was clearly working overtime to heal her. Still, there were burns along her ribs, and that arm hadn't reset right. He didn't dare move it again. Ellie left soup and whispered stories beside the loft each evening, perched nearby with a stuffed giraffe named Admiral Crunch. She never touched the woman, but she stayed close, watchful, like she already knew this strange visitor had weight beyond her wounds. By the third morning, Jack found her sitting up. Just sitting, nothing dramatic. She watched the sunrise through a crack in the barn wall, her hands folded neatly in her lap, like she'd never crashed through Earth's sky at all. You're awake, he said, keeping his voice low, cautious. She turned her head slowly, pupils narrowing slightly against the light. You are Jack Harding, she said. Her voice was stronger than he expected, measured, regal. He stiffened. How do you know my name? You told your daughter. Loudly. 3 times. When she tried to feed me marshmallows while I was unconscious. Jack exhaled a sharp breath that might have been a laugh if he weren't so tense. Right. That tracks. She studied him carefully, like cataloging a species. You are not military. Not a protector. Yet you carried me from the wreckage. Why? Jack shrugged. Because you were hurt. Because it was the right thing to do. She tilted her head. That is rare. Before he could reply, Ellie barreled in through the barn doors, rain boots squelching, arms full of crayons and cereal. You're awake, she cried. Do you like dinosaurs? I drew you one with wings. It's a Skyrex. The alien woman blinked. I have never seen one. Ellie beamed. Then I'll make you more. Skyrexes are royalty. Like you? Jack shot her a look, but Ellie was already arranging her drawings like diplomatic offerings. The woman glanced down at the papers, then up at Jack again. You did not tell her, she said softly. No, he replied. Thought it might be better coming from you. She looked at Ellie once more, her expression unreadable, and said nothing. They settled into an uneasy rhythm after that. Jack worked the fields, repaired his busted wind turbine, and scoured the wreck site for salvage. He buried the debris under tarps and old farm equipment. Whatever tech survived, he didn't understand it, but he knew enough to keep it out of sight. Ellie visited the woman, who refused to give her name, for sky tea, every afternoon. She read her books about queens and dragons and sometimes asked if the stars really made music. The woman listened, always polite, but always distant, as though listening through glass. Eventually, Jack pressed. Over dinner, beans, toast, and one painfully rationed tomato, he asked the question that had been eating him alive since day one. "Who are you really?" She set her fork down with precise grace, the movement practiced and formal. "My name is Virelia of the Velari Ascendancy. First Empress of the Starborn Realms. Keeper of the Tide Blades. Sovereign of—" Jack held up a hand. "Okay. Got it. Big deal where you're from." She nodded once. "Or I was. Until the fall." He leaned back, arms crossed. "Fall?" Virelia's gaze dropped, her voice quieter than he'd heard it before. "The ascendancy fractured. A betrayal within my high council. My fleet was scattered, my throne seized. I escaped with one mission: find the heir. Secure her safety. Then vanish." Jack's brow furrowed. "The heir? You said that in the field?" "Yes. She was sent here, long ago. Hidden among your kind. I was to retrieve her. Train her. Prepare her to reclaim what was lost." He blinked. "Wait. Are you saying there's an alien kid running around Earth who doesn't know she's royalty?" Virelia didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked toward the barn loft, where Ellie's laughter floated down like birdsong. Then she looked back at Jack. Her silence said everything. His stomach dropped. "No," he said flatly. "You think Ellie is. She is not Velari by birth," Virelia said gently. "But her energy, the resonance is unlike any human I have encountered. Something ancient lives in her. Something awakened by proximity to my presence. I do not know how or why. But she is the heir now. Chosen, not born." Jack stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. "You listen to me. She's a kid. My kid. She builds cardboard wings and drinks chocolate milk and still thinks Pluto got a raw deal. She's not going to war for some broken empire." Virelia didn't flinch. "I am not here to draft her. I am here to protect her." "From what?" There was a beat of stillness. "Others will come," Virelia said. "They will sense my presence. Some will come to finish what the coup began. Others, to claim the heir for their own." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "You brought danger to my front door." "I brought destiny," she said, eyes burning. He turned, ready to shout, but stopped when he saw Ellie at the barn door, watching them both. "Are you fighting?" she asked quietly. Jack swallowed hard. "Just talking, sweet pea. Grown-up stuff." Ellie patted over, looked at Virelia, then at Jack. "She fixed my wings," she said, pulling something from behind her back. Jack stared. It was Ellie's old flight harness, duct tape, scrap wire, and dreams. But now, it shimmered with strange metal plates, humming with faint energy. The thing looked like it belonged on a starfighter pilot, not a child. It glowed softly as Ellie ran her fingers along it. "She said I could fly with it one day," Ellie whispered. "Like really fly." Jack looked at Virelia. She met his gaze evenly. "I only gave shape to what was already in her," she said. He didn't know what to say. Outside, the wind shifted. Somewhere in the distance, far above human ears, a frequency pulsed once, then again, like sonar from the stars. Virelia stiffened. She rose slowly to her feet, her face grim. "They've found me," she said. "And they'll find her too." Jack's voice was barely a whisper. "Then we'd better be ready." The night before they came, the stars were too quiet. Jack sat on the porch with a shotgun across his knees and a thermos of coffee he hadn't touched. The air was heavy with stillness, not peace, but anticipation. Like the sky was bracing for what it already knew. Behind him, the barn light glowed faintly, casting long shadows. He could hear Ellie's laughter echoing from the loft as she tested the newly reinforced flight harness. Her voice, bright and unaware, tore at something deep inside his chest. Verelia stood at the edge of the cornfield, scanning the horizon. She no longer limped. Her armor, what was left of it, had reconfigured itself across her frame like liquid metal and obsidian shards. A ceremonial blade now hung across her back, humming low with alien resonance. She looked like a monarch returning to war. "They'll arrive before dawn," she said. Jack exhaled through his nose. "What do they want?" "Me. Or her. Or both. They will not ask politely." He glanced toward the barn. "You said she's not born of your blood." "She isn't," Verelia said, turning toward him. "But the galaxy does not care about blood. It cares about symbols. Power. Ellie radiates both now. To them, she is a threat, or a prize." Jack stood slowly, slinging the shotgun over his shoulder. "They'll have to get through me." Verelia raised an eyebrow. "With what? That relic?" He smirked. "Don't knock Earth tech. It's stubborn." The first scout ship arrived in silence. A vertical slash opened in the night above the tree line, revealing a craft shaped like a needle of black glass. It descended with no flame, no sound, just weight. 2 more followed. Then 5. Then 10. They circled like vultures. Inside the barn, Ellie looked up from her drawings as the floor shivered. "What's that?" she asked, already climbing to the loft window. "Get down!" Jack shouted, but the rumble drowned him out. The field erupted in light. A column of plasma vaporized the old scarecrow, then dug a smoking hole into the earth. Figures emerged from the ships, tall, faceless beings wrapped in iridescent armor, carrying staffs that buzzed with sickly green energy. Their movement was methodical. Inhuman. Jack fired once, the buckshot harmless against shields. One of them turned. Raised its weapon. Before it fired, Verelia was there. She moved like light, her blades slicing clean through the air. Sparks burst as her weapon clashed with theirs. One by one, she dropped them, precise and brutal, but the numbers kept coming. Inside, Ellie stared wide-eyed as the world became a war zone. The flight harness sat beside her, glowing, humming, waiting. She strapped it on. The moment she did, the lights in the barn flared. Symbols etched into the walls by alien hands suddenly activated, responding to her presence. The ceiling split open, a perfect square, retracting like petals. Ellie didn't hesitate. She ran. Leapt. And flew. The wings caught her, stabilizers igniting with a soft roar. She soared upward, clumsy but determined, rising over the battlefield like a shooting star made of cardboard and hope. The harness whirred, adjusting to her size, smoothing her flight path. Jack saw her silhouette streak across the moonlight. "No!" he shouted, sprinting toward the barn. But it was too late. She was already in the sky, trailing a beam of golden light. The enemy saw her too. 3 broke from the pack, taking to the air. Their movements were faster, sharper, predatory. Verelia looked up, eyes wide with something between awe and horror. "She's ascending," she whispered. Jack's heart raced. "What does that mean?" "She's claiming her title. Even if she doesn't know it." Ellie zigzagged clumsily, the joy of flight mixing with panic as her pursuers closed in. One got too close, fired a bolt of green plasma that grazed her wing. Sparks flared. She screamed, spiraling. Verelia didn't hesitate. She ran, sprinted, then leapt high into the air. A burst of energy exploded beneath her feet, propelling her into the sky. Her armor unfolded wings of its own, sleek, angular, terrifying. She intercepted the closest pursuer with a cry of rage, blades slicing the enemy clean in half. Then another. Then the third. But the last one got a shot off. The bolt arced straight toward Ellie. Verelia twisted midair, slammed into the blast, absorbing it with her own body. She fell like a falling star. Ellie descended fast, screaming her name, the flight harness jerking violently as it struggled to stay stable. She landed hard, tumbling into Jack's arms, sobbing. Varelia hit the ground beside them with a sickening crunch. Jack rushed to her side. She was fading, her armor flickering, internal systems sparking. "You saved her," he said, his voice raw. She smiled faintly, blood trailing from her lips. "Of course I did." Ellie knelt beside her. "You can't die. You're a queen." "I was," Varelia whispered. "But she is more. She is sky-born. The galaxy will follow her. Not because of a throne. Because of her heart." Jack gripped her hand. "You don't have to go. We can fix you. We can." "It's too late," she said. "But I've seen enough." Above them, the ships hovered uncertainly, awaiting orders. Then, one by one, they began to retreat. Silent again. They had seen what they needed, the rise of the new heir. As the last ship vanished into the sky, Ellie whispered, "Where will they take me?" Jack looked at her, tears stinging his eyes. "Wherever you want to go." A faint glow pulsed from Varelia's chest. A small orb rose, holographic, spinning, projecting star charts and encoded keys. "She will need a guide," Varelia said. "Someone who knows how to fix things." Jack blinked. "Me? You are more than you believe." Her final breath left with the wind. Silence settled over the farm. Not the silence of fear, but of reverence. Ellie stood, wings folded behind her, gazing up at the stars. Jack followed her gaze. "Guess we've got a ship to build," he said. Ellie smiled. "Let's make it fly." And somewhere far above, the stars began to rearrange.